His family sets up next to me. I go into the surf. When I come out, my clothes, my towel, my umbrella, they're all gone. I am furious. I start screaming, demanding my stuff back. Finally, I lose it. I grab their boombox and I chuck it into the ocean.
Seems reasonable. Seems reasonable.
And I see my clothes floating. The tide took them out. The tide took them out.
Even more
All
reasonable.
right, that's enough. The conspiracy has been revealed.
Hello, people with ears listening or watching this episode of Cordkillers, where our mission is to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, and on whatever device you choose. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey, man, I'm Brian Brushwood, and I think these guys over at TBS are onto something. I think we're dumb talking in real time at real speeds. What we got to do is do like TBS does and speed up our purchase content by 7.5% so we can squeeze in.
That's what was going on with the double speaking thing there.
2 extra minutes of ads in a 30-minute episode of Seinfeld is what they're able to squeeze out with that little trick. And here's the weird part. I ain't even mad. Like, I actually think that we have grown accustomed to this sped-up world. I listen to all my audiobooks at 1.25 times speed. The only podcast that I listen to at regular speed is Radiolab and 99% Invisible because they're so, I don't know, musically radio-ish or whatever.
Well, and the speed-up technology has gotten so good that you can't tell. It doesn't sound like chipmunks or anything. Like, they just take out these spaces.
Well, and what's funny is when it comes to comedy, I actually think that the pacing is even better because I listen to Harmontown and I think, man, those guys are fast on the spot. And then only later do I realize,
so
like, oh, no, wait.
now.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of quick-witted, Ewan Rankin from British Tech Network is with us today to give us that non-U.S. perspective on cord cutting that we often are criticized for not having. Thank you, Ewan.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Is that you're a non-U.S. person?
No, that I'm quick-witted. Most of the
good.
emails I get are quite the opposite, really.
They don't know. They're slow-witted, so they don't get your humor. That's why.
Yeah, I want to commend you, actually, because last week your breakdown of British television, Tom, was awesome. It was like I was listening to a man in his native tongue. It was excellent. Well done.
What did I do? Well,
you went through all of the channels that we've got and where they were and how to get them, and the Now TV box and that stuff. I was impressed. I have to say.
Thank you.
You're a man of the world.
I was winging it.
Well,
right.
It came across well.
We got a little news about Freeview that we'll get to later in the show as well. But shall we start off with our primary target?
Yeah.
And our primary target is not always something to watch, but this is such big news that it's definitely belonging at the top here. Spider-Man will appear in an unspecified Marvel-produced film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, despite the fact that Sony will continue to finance, distribute, own, and have final creative control of all Spider-Man films. Now, the question of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is still up in the air. BuzzFeed says he's out. Most people say he's out, but that hasn't officially been announced yet. A Marvel press release simply said, together they will collaborate on a new creative direction for the web slinger, which kind of implies that maybe he's out. Marvel Cinematic Universe characters may appear in Spider-Man films as well, so Sony and Marvel/Disney cooperating here. New Spider-Man installment coming July 28th, 2017, co-produced by Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, former Sony producer. And that moves everything down. Thor Ragnarok goes to November 2017, Black Panther to July 2018, Captain Marvel to November 2018, and Inhumans to July 2019. And everybody's thinking Captain America Civil War, which comes out May 6, 2016, might be our first Spider-Man peak.
Yeah, keep in mind that this isn't just the fact that they're bringing Spider-Man in. And let's face it, like the whole reason we got an unfortunately way too early, in my opinion, reboot of the Spider-Man franchise was because Sony had to do something with the franchise or they were going to lose it. So they rushed to tell us the same story. With great power comes great responsibility yet again. And but understand that this deal not only allows Sony to start making movies with the Marvel content, but think about all the Spider-Man villains that are now opened up that now get to show up in the rest of, that's what was always great about the Marvel franchise to begin with, was that you were able to see these insane crossovers like, oh, that's normally a so-and-so bad guy, but this time he's finding blah, blah, blah. to be honest, this feels to me like somebody was watching the Marvel train leaving and they got a last-minute invite to join the ride, and Sony was able to work something out.
Well,
Ewan,
comics always have
how
periodic
excited do you get
crossovers.
about Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff, if at all?
I was just going to say the comics always had crossovers, didn't they? There was always the fantasy episode of Superman teaming up with Marvel characters and stuff, and it'd just be like a one episode deal, and then it would go away again. So I don't see this as anything different from that. And the interesting thing is about the creative control over Spider-Man. Yeah, they're keeping the movies, but are they going to create? Is there going to be any kind of creative control within the Marvel sphere that says, you can't do this with him because that impinges on our storyline as well?
Well, I know that it looked to be, and I wish I could remember, I'm sure somebody in the chat will be able to throw us up a link, but somebody made a fantastic Venn diagram showing all of the different spheres of influence that different studios had. And in this case, the Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe was the largest sphere, but off to the side, you had, the Sony sphere that had, for example, Sony, I believe, has Fantastic Four. And in the crossover section, you had Spider-Man, but also, I believe, is it Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch that are going to be in the next Avengers movie? But it looked like, before this agreement happened, that they weren't even going to call them by those names, that they were going to give them just like some other names, because technically, and again, I don't remember.
Although I think Quicksilver is owned by Fox?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, no, it is Fox. I'm sorry. I'm getting Sony and the Fox mixed up. Fox has worked out some kind of licensing crossover.
A much more limited version of it, though, than this, right?
I believe so. I'm going to shut my mouth because I'm going to get it all wrong.
Before we get us in trouble, yeah.
Because yeah.
There is no Fantastic Four crossover, even though Fox is making a Fantastic Four movie. Sony's full on like, okay, Marvel, as long as we get to keep profiting from Spider-Man movies, we're going to cooperate.
Well, and that's the question.
Put Spider-Man in the universe.
Is whether or not Fox is going to get on that train too. You got to imagine, like, once it becomes clear that that's what the viewers want, is to see a whole Marvel universe.
Reginald 14 says something which I haven't confirmed but makes sense to me. Mutant Quicksilver is Fox, X-Men.
There we go.
Human Quicksilver is Marvel.
Okay, so real quick, if you click on it in the chat there, Bryce, you can see this whole thing. So you got the Marvel is the bulk of it. You got the 20th Century Fox has a little bit of crossover with the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. Yeah, we'll cut over that. And then the rest of the mutants are Fox. Fantastic Four is Fox. X-Men is Fox. Sony Pictures is still off on its own with Spider-Man. However, now you can move that bubble over to have crossover with...
Yeah, you can subsume the pink bubble inside the red bubble.
Correct.
Sony Pictures is still owning Spider-Man and Venom, but they're doing it with Marvel now.
Correct. Which, again,
Sony's doing it with Marvel.
I gotta feel like, number one, we just made the title of this episode. Number two,
I said it that way on purpose.
I gotta see the Fantastic Four and Captain America, because I want to see Chris Evans play two parts and try and look different, because that dude can't act well enough to look different in those two characters.
I'll tell you what, for the record, it really breaks my heart. I saw the teaser trailer for Fantastic Four, and it just doesn't look good. I've always felt like, more than anything, I wanted to see the Fantastic Four as a period piece set at the height of the Cold War, late 50s, early 60s against the Russians, and I wanted it to be cosmic rays, and I wanted it to be 1960. But that apparently isn't happening, so we'll see.
I think it's a really smart move on Sony's part. It's a really smart move on Marvel's part, too, because not having Spider-Man is going to just get more and more glaring over time as they advance into the Infinity War and bring in Civil War. And so having Spider-Man around will just get rid of a lot of questions. Not that those would really undermine it, but it's like just nice icing on the cake. And Sony's going to make a lot more money off Spider-Man movies now. You can almost guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely. Like Spider-Man definitely felt left out in the cold, and he was in every way the star of the Marvel comic book universe. And yet to see him, as like a third or fourth or maybe even fifth place character in the cinematic franchise is unreal to this 8-year-old version of Brian.
Yeah. Now, this is different than the Spider-Man Secret Wars that came out on video in 1997. Just clear that up.
Hold on. You dropped 1997. I have a theory I'm going to test. Let me go here to patreon.com/Cordkillers. Clickety-clackety-clickety-clue.
Well, that's the place people go if they want to, like, help the show out.
Oh, 1997 is when it's updated. Contributing.
What a coincidence.
That's how many patrons we have. Just 3 shy of that magic 2,000 number. Just FYI, make sure to double check your credit card info. We're probably going to purge a few people, a few deadbeats that are well-meaning but have expired credit cards. But thank you for the nearly $2,000 that you guys make possible per episode for us to be loud, live, and independent. Thank you.
This is why we continue to do the show, not just because we love talking about this stuff, but because you guys make it possible. You make it easy, put it that way. Like, it's President's Day in the United States. Ewan Rankin doesn't care. He's in the UK. And so we're like, well, why should we care either? We're getting the patrons to support us to do the show. We're going to keep doing the show.
Heck yeah, dude. Oh, that's right. You always had jobs where you took days off. Like, I always worked holidays. So this is the normal gag for me, man.
Half Price Books was the best at that. They would make you work on President's Day, but then they would let you take another day off in compensation. And they gave you the most holidays of any job I ever worked at.
Holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So this episode brought to you by Tom's brief career at Half Price Books in Austin, Texas.
All right, let's take a look at Signals Intelligence. Of course, this is the segment about streaming services news. CBS has a couple of streaming services, don't forget. And CBS CEO Les Moonves loves to say things in earnings calls. And during the last one, he was talking about the possibility of a standalone Showtime service, similar to the HBO standalone service we're expecting here in the U.S. And he said, yeah, we're considering it. We'll share as many details with you as HBO did, which is none at all. Those are his words.
That's amazing. I guess if you're going to say something but not say it and have it be at an earnings call, that's the kind of thing to say but not say, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the right thing to say, which is like, of course we're considering it, because everybody's like, great. He's like, well, do we have anything to say about it? No, but neither do they.
We're also considering establishing a base on the moon. All of these under consideration.
He did say that CBS All Access, which is their monthly subscription CBS feed, where you don't have to have cable, you just pay them, I think it's $6 or $7 a month, and you get access to all of the CBS shows, as well as on-demand versions of their catalog. And CBSN, which is their online-only news network. You don't have to pay for it all. You can just watch. Those are both exceeding expectations.
Yeah, those are carefully crafted words. The CBSN we took a look at, right? We talked about on the show about how frustrating it was for me because either you're watching ads real time that are being played on the stream, or you're watching ads as a preamble to each of the on-demand segments of it. Like, I liked the fact that it worked at all, but wasn't overly enamored.
I tuned into it when the snowstorm had shut down New York, and they were covering to see. I was like, I'm curious to whether the snow actually comes in, what's going on, and it was actually pretty good.
Ewan, are you geo-blocked from even checking out all of this programming? Like, do your eyes glaze over when we talk about these news items?
No, because I mean we tend to cover it. Just it comes up as stories within a network anyway. So I try and keep a little bit of an abreast on it, but it's really difficult to try and find specific information. So Sling TV, which is mentioned in that story, we're absolutely blocked from even looking at the website. There is nothing that we can see. We can't see pricing. We can't see any details around Sling TV at all. It just says, and there's an error message comes up at the top that says the local geotag has stopped this from working.
The error message says, it seems you have the misfortune to have not been born an American.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we look at here that you guys get, and a lot of the to and fro, and there's a fair bit of your TV that British people wouldn't aspire to lust after, but there's a lot of interesting things going with streaming services that are going to bypass us entirely. And things like quality services like HBO Go and that kind of stuff, just unheard of. Can't get it here at all.
Well, just a couple other things off this story before we go. One is that CBS execs making a big deal out of the fact that they make more money selling their shows internationally than they do from the top 2 U.S. streaming services, Amazon and Netflix. So that implies that they're not really interested in selling shows for online access internationally, and they just want to sell it to 4 on, Channel 4 and ITV, et cetera.
Exactly. Yeah, they're selling it to Sky TV and those kind of people. Which, unless you've got you're in the garden, then you get nothing.
And then the New York Post's Claire Atkinson tweeted that CBS has a deal with PlayStation Vue because they're paying more than anyone else. So you might see CBS show up on the PlayStation service when that one launches.
I don't think so. That's the thing. Is it's just the whole geotag thing is
well, you would.
Something
yeah,
that
you're right.
It blocks us. So.
One might. All right, let's gear up.
Yeah, we should.
Why not? Speaking of Sling TV, Sling TV is giving away Roku and Amazon streaming sticks. So they are fully launched in the U.S. So we just want you to pretend you can get it for the rest of the story. Because otherwise,
we can get Fire TV and the Amazon Fire Stick. So
yeah.
I love the Amazon
Fire TV is adding Fox Sports Go, TED channel, and Wall Street Journal Live. They've doubled the amount of apps or more since last year, and they added the Sling TV app. I've been using it on the Fire TV stick, and it works really well. That's my favorite way to watch it actually right now. They're also, if you prepay for Sling TV, giving you either $50 off the Fire TV or a free Fire TV, or $50 off a Roku 3 or a free Roku streaming stick.
Smart. This is akin to the whole, pay for the service, get the cell phone free situation. I think that their number one play is to get people into the ecosystem, get them used to watching, TV over the web. However, as a random side jag, I'd hate to admit it, but I am falling out of love with the fact that my Fire TV stick can't keep its Wi-Fi. It can't keep it up on the Wi-Fi. Like, have you not had that problem, Tom?
Nope. Haven't had that problem at all.
How close are your devices?
That's probably not a Fire TV stick problem. That's probably a Wi-Fi problem, is my guess.
I mean, I've tried it on 2 different routers. Whatever. I don't want to side jag into tech support.
Well, yeah, you're not going to be able to say I love my Fire TV anymore if your Wi-Fi isn't working out. I get that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and what's funny is I actually suspect I would love, maybe I'll just shut up and spend the money and actually get the actual box so I can hardwire it in. And then, because at that point, it would be everything that I want it to be. But regardless, as far as a play for Sling to subsidize this and make it possible, I think that's smart. Because then all of a sudden, they're playing the same game that cable companies are. Because cable company, you expect to pay some monthly fee and have a set-top box that connects you to the things that you love. Now Sling is essentially doing that. If you're somebody ignorant of the back end of all that, all I know is I pay $20, I get my sports, and it's a prettier box environment than I got with cable back in the day.
Do you use a Fire TV or a Roku?
Fire TV, yes, and love it. Absolutely love it. Significantly better UI than Apple TV, and it's fast, responsive. You've got the push button to kind of pull stuff up. You just hold onto it, go blackadder, bang, all the blackadder pops up. It's dead easy.
So you do use the voice control on there. I was really worried that the voice control was going to be janky or silly feeling, but I've been nothing but impressed with it.
It's awesome, and it's fast and responsive. It's it's not the ugly crap that Apple TV's got. I mean, they're still using the front row interface, trying to get through movies and that kind of rubbish. The only thing that the Apple TV's got at the moment over the Amazon Fire TV is the fact of accessing your iTunes account.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I like the Fire TV interface the best. Apple TV is sometimes a little cleaner, especially if you've hidden enough of the apps, so you only have the ones you want. But Fire TV isn't that cluttered, and usually the stuff you want is always surfaced right in the recently used area anyway, so it's pretty fast to get through. Yeah. Real quickly, because we're talking about Sling TV giving away these boxes, I know this is the Gear Up segment, but there is some Sling TV news out there. AMC, not shown up yet. It's supposed to be coming in coming weeks, so we've had 1 week. Hopefully it comes in the next week. They are announcing a movie package, though. They're teaming up with Epics to provide Epics, Epics 2, Epics 3, and Epics Drive-In channels, plus 2,000 movies from Epics on demand. And we don't know what price that tier would be, but that's essentially giving you like an HBO and HBO Go in one. or at least you'll be able to access it through the Epics app. And if you remember, Epics and Netflix signed a 5-year deal in 2010. So you'll see the Hunger Games on Netflix because they have a deal with Epics, but you'll also be able to get those on Epics. I don't know if this would replace a Netflix subscription for people, but there'd be some extra movies in there on Sling TV.
I mean, as long as it's simple, as long as you're just spending the $20 and the things are there, or whatever add-ons you get if they do it as an add-on thing, I think that they really have the potential to cross over into the mother-in-law market. You know, that's the thing.
Although not all of our listeners are excited about Sling TV. Jeff Butch wrote in and said, Sling TV is a bad joke. And he wrote it in all capitals, so we know he's serious. He said, I think you guys and many people have missed the whole problem with Sling TV. Because it's internet, it sounds like Netflix or HBO Go, but it's not, because it's linear, not on demand. On demand is a major aspect of TV 2.0. Sling TV is antiquated linear with commercials, which is worse than Hulu. If it were free, I wouldn't watch it. What Jeff's saying is, I want an on-demand service, and Sling TV isn't an on-demand service, so I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't think we've missed that. I think what we're saying is, if you're the kind of person who can't cut the cord because you want to watch live linear TV, and Jeff, this may seem crazy to you, but there are people like that, then this is for them. This is not for Jeff. In fact, Robert Russell pointed out, I picked up Sling TV, and so far I'm not sold on it, but my mother loves it because she can watch HGTV.
Yep. And although he does have a beef that there's only one live stream available, that he can't
we've made
be
that
watching
clear
it.
before.
And we also got another email from who is this? Escobom says, "Hey guys, was listening to the podcast and I thought I heard Tom refer to El Rey Network as one of the Spanish channels."
Yeah, I think I did.
Whether you said that or not, who cares, right? I think it's important to point out that El Rey Network is actually his favorite network on the service. It's an English language channel which delivers what Spike TV promised to be in the early days: grindhouse exploitation films, blaxploitation films, gritty 80s television at its best. But the real diamond in the rough is its original content. He points out Dusk Till Dawn, the series, Lucha Underground. The storyline is always well shot. Anyway, thought he'd point out and plug El Rey Network since it's right under your nose, but easy to miss. And he likes the show.
I watched Rat's Night of Terror on Valentine's Day with Eileen.
Aw, how
El Rey
romantic. You two are adorable.
You know, that's one of the things I like about Sling TV is I'm actually getting channels that I don't get on DirecTV.
So on the great quest to tempt Eileen to make the jump, what percentage are you at?
We're at 83%.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Essentially, she said this to me. She's like, yeah, I guess I can just watch Walking Dead the next day. I'm like, you won't have to because AMC is coming to Sling TV. And she's like, oh. She's like, so as soon as HBO launches their thing, then that's it, right? And I'm like, yeah. I
mean, unless she loves sports, but even then with Sling TV, it's like the sports argument.
We were watching the Universal Sports Network, which is NBC's all Olympic sports. They have rugby and skiing and all of that stuff. We were watching that Saturday night. We don't get that on DirecTV with the tier we subscribe to.
That's amazing. Now, will Sling work around your problems with the local broadcast for your sports games that you like?
I don't know how they deal with ESPN blackouts, but it's not as frequent a problem with ESPN. ESPN usually gets national rights for things. So it's not as big of a deal. This is for people who just want to watch sports, not I need every game of my local team. It's not going to solve the sports problem for that kind of person.
Let me ask Ewan, do you guys have, what Tom's referring to is that there's exclusives on local broadcasters being able to play local games. And so if you're using DirecTV or whatever, you can't, it's blacked out in your area. Do they do similar deals in Europe, or is that a foreign concept to you guys?
Our entire country is about the size of Rhode Island, I think. So there is no local. That. I mean, it's not that small. But no, I mean, we don't do local, really, that kind of thing. I mean, I think we're about equivalent to the size of Michigan. So, the local sport is a non-existent thing. There's no local TV channels that are franchised off from everyone else that can pick it up or can pay for it. The Premiership is with BT's TV service, and some of the games are on Sky. There's been a 70% increase in that now, so Sky next year is going to get all of the Premiership games for football. So there isn't a local division that's feasibly possible to watch.
That's amazing. And I guess what's funny is, instead of local sports cheering, you guys have nationalism. where you
No, I mean, your local side will have a game, and you may get lucky that week that they want to watch you on Sky, and they tend to be fairly, fair about spreading it around and showing the love for everyone. But certainly, like lower division teams and things like that, the second string. It's like saying, you put Major League Baseball and saying, well, I want to watch Toledo Mud Hens. There's no way to watch Toledo Mud Hens in some parts, unless you turn up to the game. That kind of level. That was a metaphor, by the way, not that I watched with Toledo Mud Hens.
But again, I mean, the blackout issue for most people is I subscribe to MLB Network and I can't watch my in-market games, or ESPN has my local team, but it's also on the local cable channel, so I have to watch it on the local cable channel. The blackout issue is hard for people who want to cut the cord. If you got cable, usually you have it, or you at least have a lower cost option to get it for everything. So Sling TV is not going to solve that for people.
Yeah, so
it's just going to give you, some sports. Like if you're like, I just want to watch Sports Center, I want to watch the college basketball games that are on ESPN, I want to watch, and maybe I'm into, more international sports, I want to watch the Rugby Sevens World Series, that's on Universal Sports Network, I want to watch some football from Europe, that's on the BN Sports Network. So they're smart. They're like, we know we can't solve the local market problem. Let's solve the problem for people who are like, oh, those are channels that I actually can't get on my cable service.
What about people who just want to see content created by Tom Merritt at all times?
Those are blacked out everywhere except places with the internet.
Wait, oh man. So if you have the internet, you can see all the content. Well, actually, hold on.
Internet,
Tom, you're telling a bit of a fib. I feel like if I get on a plane and don't have internet, there's still a way for me to get some of that Tom Merritt goodness.
Well, if you plan ahead, you can download this paper version of the Year in Tech History on demand, and it's cached in this storage format known as paper that you can then take on the plane with you when there's no internet. But you have to do that ahead of time.
Paper is, as I understand it, it's a revolutionary version of e-ink that requires, am I right about this, no electricity?
Right. It's I call it meat ink because it's in meat space.
Okay.
And it's on this really high resolution display, persistent display, doesn't have any need for battery.
Right.
So
but there are limitations. You do need. There's no backlight on that, correct? It's entirely reflective display technology. Okay. Well, that's fantastic.
Don't forget TSA limit you to 100 pages as well, otherwise you can't carry it on.
Yeah. No. It depends
you have to
if
read
you're
it
TSA
in
pre.
In the bin.
Then you can take an extra 100 pages.
TomMerrittBooks.com
is the place to go if you'd like to get that Year in Tech History that we were just showing, as illustrated by Scott Johnson, or any of my novellas that I mess around writing. Check it out. I've actually got a new one in the works. Scott Johnson's working on the cover for it, so I'll tell you more about that soon.
Right on.
Let's look at the front lines.
Yeah, no, let's dive into the front lines and punch them.
Dive across the front
lines.
And then get shot. No, let's not dive across the front lines. Hey, we previously mentioned BitTorrent's partnership with Rapid Eye Studios to launch an original sci-fi show called Children of the Machine, which will now launch in late 2015, later this year, as a free ad-supported video through BitTorrent bundles. You could also pay for it. If you pay $10, then you won't have any ads in it, and you'll get some bonus features. Also, BitTorrent's chief content officer and his team are moving from San Francisco to Los Angeles to work with the Rapid Eye team, and they intend to launch more original content on BitTorrent bundles with 30 to 60-day exclusive windows.
How exciting. Finally, BitTorrent's getting into the movie business. Ewan, you ever hear of the BitTorrents?
No.
This is BitTorrent, the legal service that created the protocol, not BitTorrent, the protocol that is sometimes used for questionable things.
Yeah, no, I think this is a good thing. I mean, I think the more people make original content, the better. It's just, it's how readily available. And the one thing you're going to say is, if BitTorrent are making it, it's going to be readily available, which is great. And maybe there won't be any geo-blocking on it either.
I'll tell you what won't be available is anyone who bought stuff from Target's Target Ticket Service, which is closing on March 7th after fewer than 18 months. New rentals will end Tuesday. Movies will be transferred to Cinema Now for access. Target will give Cinema Now coupons for movies that cannot be transferred, presumably non-ultraviolet movies. So if I'm understanding this correctly, as per, this is why you could make a case, and I'll take an extension preemptively, that ultraviolet is a good thing, because it used to be that, let's say you bought all your movies from iTunes and iTunes goes out of business. Sorry, you're crap out of luck. You don't get to watch your movies anymore. Because these are ultraviolet movies, you bought them, you own them. It doesn't matter that the store you bought them for is gone away. You still own them.
That's the theory, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be the first test of this, because what they're saying is, we'll transfer them to Cinema Now. And I'm like, yeah, but all my Target ticket movies are also available in Vudu. Are they going to go away from Vudu?
Well, and also, yeah, I guess that's the thing, is I don't understand. The whole purpose of Ultraviolet was to create an artificial scarcity where you were the only one who could own it and you could take it and watch it on whatever service you want. But again, all of these services seem to be long on the promise of true ownership, but short on delivery, because there's no profit incentive. Why should they go out of their way to make sure that you're able to watch these after the service is no longer available?
I mean, it's because Ultraviolet, the system, exists outside the retailers, and they say, we make you agree to this. The same way, like somebody who sells DVDs, you can still play that DVD when it's home. They're trying to replicate that same service. I get that. I'm just curious if
yeah, but the difference is that a DVD doesn't require the company getting out of the business to make sure that they answer the calls when it radios in for permission to play each.
Although it
time.
should be radioing in to Ultraviolet, not to Target.
Okay. Well,
so that's the premise anyway.
Somebody report to us on that.
I'm curious on March 7th what happens to those free movies I got from Target.
Is this the first real opportunity, though, for come and have a go if you think you're hard enough with the copyright enforcement? If someone gets caught downloading to replace a movie that doesn't work on Ultraviolet that they legally purchased from Target, who's going to come to them and say, right, we're going to sue you. You're going to pay us X $1,000s for this.
I mean,
I go, well, look, I legally purchased it. I downloaded it because you stopped me playing it. Therefore, get stuff.
I mean, this is the perfect worst case scenario, because the person that sues will be the MPAA or the copyright owners of it. The ones they'll blame, they'll say, no. That's the deal that you have with Ultraviolet or with this provider. We're the ones who own the content, and you're definitely downloading it illegally.
Well, in fact, Ultraviolet is meant to avoid that problem. This happened in ebooks. When certain ebooks went away and the validation for the DRM went away, there was a Caliber plugin created to allow you to strip the DRM off, and they went to court to stop that plugin from being used, and the court determined, no, it is okay for people to use that plugin to strip off the DRM for the books that they own, because it's the only way for them to read that. So what Ultraviolet does is, like, let's not go to court. Let's make it so we're always here to validate the DRM.
In theory, that's a fantastic idea, Tom.
Hey, 10 episodes from the third season of House of Cards appeared briefly on Netflix February 11th. The company realized its mistakes, took the episodes down, blamed a technical glitch, and showing a sense of humor, the official House of Cards Twitter posted, "This is Washington. There's always a leak. All 13 episodes will launch February 27th.
What exact? Do we have any more details? Did anybody actually get to watch an entire episode before it got yanked? Are we talking about a window?
TechCrunch reporter, at least, I'm sure more than that, said, yeah, we were able to finish watching the episode we had started even after they pulled him down.
Oh, that's amazing. I almost certainly not intentional, but very, very cool that it worked out that way. This is you got to think that everyone's kind of smiling over at Netflix over this.
Well, yeah, and honestly, I mean, that would have been cool, maybe. But I think I was talking to Sarah Lane about this on DTNS earlier last week, and she was saying, I want to watch it with everybody else. That's the fun, is the binge weekend on February 27th.
Yeah, of course. Real quick, Ewan, are you watching the House of Cards over there? I mean, you probably watched the original.
Of course, mate. Take an extension. Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, definitely. My wife and I are big lovers of the Netflix model of putting everything up, and then we have a weekend binge, like you just said with Sarah.
Did you watch the original?
And we've got a House of Cards podcast on the network as well, which Jackie Hearn runs for us, which is absolutely excellent.
Oh, that's fantastic. Did you watch the original British production?
We do, and actually, I'm on a couple of episodes of the House of Cards show, and we spend a lot of time comparing the British political system with the American system, and the two styles of the two shows, and looking at characters that aren't, like Remy Danton doesn't really figure anywhere in the British one, although lobbyists now do an awful lot more, and it's interesting. And Charlotte, who comes on the show as well, she's Charlotte Henry. She used to work for an undersecretary, private secretary within the government, so she's got a lot of inside knowledge about how British government works, and there's a good trade-off and pairing between the two.
Right on. Yeah, I watched the first episode but stopped because I didn't want to know how everything ended. Freeview will call its on-demand service Freeview Play. Archiva, BBC, Channel 4, ITV, and Sky expect those companies' on-demand services to be available alongside free over-the-air broadcasts. This is the thing we talked about last week, right, Tom?
Well, is it the same thing we talked about last week?
Freeview. This is the British. All of the content.
I think we might have been talking about YouView.
Oh, you know, boy, it's a bad sign when we're supposed to be the experts and I can't remember.
Well, YouView was the system headed up by Alan Sugar, who you may have heard of. He did the UK's version of The Apprentice. But Freeview was a conglomerate open source place that did it to start with. I mean, they were kind of the first package that came along. YouView was a little bit more. It was you had to buy the box, and it was a lot more structured to subscription anyway.
All right, I want to hear more.
Yeah, last week we were talking about YouView being built into Bravia TVs.
Got it.
So this is Freeview, which is over the air, but they're going to have their own catch-up service on demand. And I'm curious, were people like wanting a YouView competitor?
I don't know. See, that's the word competition is. I'm not sure how close the competition is. The Freeview service for catch-up may end up just being the 4OD service, BBC iPlayer, and the ITV catch-up service. Whether it's going to provide any premium catch-up is the question. I mean, it lists Sky here, but there's certain content from Sky that you can get free over the air anyway through Freeview. So, some of the living channels and stuff like that. So I'd be interested to see whether there's going to be a charge for this, because as far as I'm aware, Freeview doesn't have a pay structure that it can actually implement.
Yeah, no, and they said that this will be a subscription-free service. Yeah. So presumably any of that pay content would not be on the table here.
Which means a lot of the Sky stuff that you're going to get free of charge is probably not going to be worth waiting up for.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at what's under surveillance.
Not like real estate. It's all about location. Under surveillance.
So Hulu has cast James Franco as Jake Epping in J.J. Abrams and Bridget Carpenter's adaptation of Stephen King's 11/23/63, which we now know is a 9-hour event series. Brian, we've mentioned that this was going to happen before in the show, but I know you're really excited about it.
Yeah, I really am. I'm somebody who's read an awful lot of Stephen King's books, and I would say, 70% of his entire body of work at this point. I went through the entire Dark Tower epic experience, as I convinced you to do as well. I don't think it would be unkind or unfair to say that Stephen King is better at beginnings than endings, but 11/23/63 is one of the few books where I feel like he absolutely nailed the ending. It was a utterly satisfying journey from beginning to end. It might be worth it if you're the kind of person who likes to read the book before the movie. I can definitely vouch for the book, but I'll say this much. James Franco is a hell of a talented actor. Him in Spring Breakers is a different human being from the person I see everywhere else. That guy can wrap himself into a role, and the unreality of stepping through a doorway that takes you back into 1963, I totally buy that he could pull this off and bring a gravitas and a reality to it that maybe will hopefully play above what you would expect from television miniseries level quality.
Star Trek Continues, which is one of two major Star Trek reboot doing the original series over again. I always think of this as the one with Grant Imahara, because Grant's awesome, but it's got an amazing cast. They met their Kickstarter goals, so they will make 2 more episodes and be able to create sets for engineering and for going down on planets with away missions.
It looks like they blew past their goal, because if on
the Kickstarter goal was for 2 more episodes, and the stretch goals were to create sets for engineering and the planets.
Yeah, man, $214,000 out of the $100,000 that they were asking for. I'll tell you what, man, there is something about these episodes that's unreal because there was something about the way stuff was produced in the 1960s. You know, the little things like the weird, like having a shaft of light just over the eyes of people, and the weird hanging pauses from one. The editing, the pacing is slow. Like they nail all of those things, and it's as though you're seeing an artifact from an alternate universe where Star Trek never ended, which of course is the entire point of what they're doing.
Have you watched any of these, Ewan?
No, I haven't, but I know enough about the Star Trek genre that the fan base stuff is very good, and I think that that's the one thing that sets Star Trek and Star Wars apart now that Disney have taken on Star Wars is the fan base stuff can thrive in the Star Trek environment, whereas the I fear for the Star Wars fan base stuff. I certainly in the Disney environment.
I don't, man. All I know is that Disney touches stuff and makes the Avengers happen. Goucham in the chat points out that also they love the ultra close-ups in the old Star Trek series. Part of that was because you got to remember, this comes from a time that although they were shooting on film, they were shooting for a very tight 4:3 low-resolution television, 13 to 14 inches experience. And there's a fantastic, we talked about it on the show, The Wire was shot on film, but it was shot similarly for 4:3, so they had to figure out how to redo certain scenes to make the transition to HD. If you look at, what's his name? The guy, David Simon? Yeah, David Simon's blog. He talks about all that stuff.
In celebration of Saturday Night Live's 40th anniversary, NBC launched a mobile app which has 5,500 sketches with 300-plus hours of video. The shows have been available on your browser already at either Yahoo Screen since 2013 or internationally through something called Zephyr, Z-E-F-R, I would guess is how you would say it. But this is more of a chance for me to say I also watched the Saturday Night Live 40th anniversary 3-hour special yesterday. It was over the air, so I was able to watch it just fine without using a cable subscription. And I was not expecting to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. It stunned me, Brian, how many things we say just regularly every day came from that 40-year history.
I want so bad to invest the time to go look, but number one, I figure it's lose-lose. Either it's not going to be as good as I remember, or it's going to be so good that I'm going to weep for the fact that I'm aging and all of this is left behind and will become dust in the wind. Tears and rain, time to die. I mean, it's like I don't know. It's like stuff like this is extraordinarily tempting to me, which is why I never indulge in it. I try because if I watch it, I just feel like everyone's going to be mad that I'm not watching The Walking Dead, and I had 4 hours of The Walking Dead to get caught up on.
Brian, you have a George R.R. Martin-like problem in your life, which is if you do anything, people will say, why aren't you watching The Walking Dead?
Yes, or any of the other empty promises that I'm apparently full of. It's difficult.
I'm curious, Ewan, if Saturday Night Live, I know it's popular in the UK, but is something like the 40th anniversary as attractive over there?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of people follow it here, but getting hold of it is just the difficult thing. They seem and based on the fact there's international access to it through Zephyr, as you said there, I'm gobsmacked that they've made the application to get this in the iTunes store. They've locked it. I can't even get it. So
yeah, you know why?
It's sad.
That Saturday Night Live app links you to the NBC app, which requires you to have a cable subscription to watch full episodes. You can watch the clips, but they probably want to region lock all the clips down. And an easy way to region lock that is region lock the app. So
it's sad because I mean, the world got the Belushis and what's his name that did
Chris Farley,
The Vacation and all that kind of stuff.
Chevy Chase,
and that kind of stuff. And we got all of that through the film, so we would go back and appreciate this a great deal. And there's some absolute classics in there that would be ideal to watch. But I mean, you wouldn't want the last 2 years though.
All right. Then speaking of George R.R. Martin, February 14th at the Writers Guild West Awards, George R.R. Martin said the following: "People are going to die who don't die in the books, so even the book readers will be unhappy. So everybody better be on their toes. David and DB are even bloodier than I am." Brian, he's talking about the HBO series.
This may shock you, Tom, for somebody who I have felt that while the television show doesn't adhere to the letter of the books, it adheres to the spirit of the books better than the books. So the answer is you have permission. Take me in a different way. I mean, I've never had a TV show where I wish I could unread the book about it and not know anything. And the very tantalizing possibility that, number one, the television show is going to finish before the books do, that we are starting this season going to wade into uncharted territory. Because keep in mind, just because someone dies on this television show doesn't mean that they were never going to die in the book. It just means that they haven't died in the book yet, you know? So maybe it just happens later. I'm thrilled. You have full permission. You have my shield and axe. That's from the same franchise, right?
Close enough.
No, I think it's great. I'm a believer.
Are you a Game of Thrones fan? You are, aren't you?
No, I'm not. I do have to say I've watched a couple of episodes and I found it a bit tiresome myself. So it's not my thing.
Just wish they'd all die.
Yeah, well, yes, they can. I mean, I say it's passed me over. It was an interesting thing because we started the big show the other night, and Doc had got a big banner up behind him, which was from Game of Thrones on his backdrop, and we're all like, "What's that then?" And he goes, "Game of Thrones." There was like 20 or 30 people in the chat room, and there was 4 or 5 of us around doing the show, and we only found 2 other people in all the 35 of us who actually like Game of Thrones. So it was a high ratio of.
What was it like running a secret meeting up for the Communist Party? How was that?
Thanks for starting that room. Cheers, Brian.
Oh, I thought it was UKIP. It was okay, fine. It was communist, right?
Brian McCarthy Brushwood.
Are you now, or have you
Brian,
ever been a fan of Game of Thrones?
I think this is fantastic. Like the idea that I won't be sitting there saying, "Well, I know Brienne's safe." If George R. Martin did us all a favor here by saying, like, no, sure, Jon Snow and Khaleesi probably safe, but only because you think they're really important, not because they are safe. Like, all bets are off.
So amazing. I'm very, very excited about it.
All right, what have you been watching there, Mr. Rankin? Anything of note that you've been viewing to tell folks about?
Wolf Hall, which is on here in the UK. It's a BBC series which is about Henry VIII and particularly more focused on the rise of Cromwell. And, of course, Better Call Saul as well. And I'm doing my best to catch up with you guys on The Shield, but I'm back at season 2, so I'm a bit pathetic.
Are you far enough into it that you feel like, because when Tom watched it, he felt like the trappings of it were a little bit dated in a 20-teens world when it was shot in the late 1990s. Does it click with you, or tell me where your head's at as far as enjoyment?
I couldn't get past in season 1. I found it very difficult to get past how badly it was shot. It looks and feels cheap in the way that it's shot. It doesn't feel like they've got a big crew. But maybe that was the thing that made it so popular, was the fact it was gutsy and it got made because it wasn't so expensive to make. The second one, I found myself getting lost in a lot more episodes and getting taken up by the story. And I think the storylines were better in season 2 than they are in 1.
By season 2, you're into the money train stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's if it's going to take root, it's going to be in season 2.
Yeah, no, I think I'll watch it through, but it's just sitting down and having the time. I went through a whole period of watching stuff a couple of years ago because I was living in a hotel, so I had everything with me, and I just went through all seasons of the Borgias, all the Californications and that kind of stuff. So it was good watching for me at the period of time, and I probably would have gotten to Game of Thrones if I'd have picked it up at that time. But no, I mean, Better Call Saul's the one that's kind of at the moment trying to pick that up as well, and we're desperately waiting for House of Cards.
Right. And you're getting Better Call Saul on Netflix, right?
Yeah, we get it straight away. So
yeah.
We get it when you get it. So it's perfect. We've got the first 2 episodes are done and dusted now. So we've got to wait and see. But I'm guessing we're talking about that in spoiler and time.
You know what? A number of things I'm actually searching right now to see how many episodes of Better Call Saul is a Monday night show, right?
Yes, and episode 2 was on this past Monday night.
Okay. Because they did a 2-part back-to-back. And really, episode 1 and episode 2, episode 1, I will say, did not stand alone. It was very clearly the first half of a 2-hour premiere. episode 2, I'm sure we'll talk about in spoiler in time. I liked it a lot, is the spoiler alert there. I will say that it was awesome. I did not realize that Michael Mondo was in Orphan Black. Michael Mondo plays the jerk boyfriend in Orphan Black, a character who I hated watching in Orphan Black. However, he also plays one of the greatest video game villains in all of PC gaming history. He plays Voss in Far Cry 3, and he is stunning as Voss. And what's funny is, as we watched the second episode of Better Call Saul, Bonnie, he had like 3 lines, and Bonnie's like, "Is that the bad guy from that game you keep playing?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I look, and sure enough, and it's not just that it's the same guy, but he's playing Voss. The character that you get to experience, what's his name? Not Domino, something crazy. Nacho. Nacho in Better Call Saul. If it's anything like Voss, like it looks like it's going to be, you guys are in for a treat, because it's a more conniving Tuco. Tuco's just a crazy dog off its leash, whereas I feel like Nacho could be so much more interesting.
That was coming through in the second episode.
Yes,
he was quite a likable character.
Oh yeah, but also, very, very snappable. You felt like it was always on the edge of something.
We will talk more about that in spoiler in time, for sure.
Yes, I felt like that was fairly non-spoilery, which is the only reason.
It depends on who you are. I think so too.
Okay, we watched Marco Polo. We'll talk about that. Peaky Blinders, I started watching. I'm into the second episode. Seductive, man. I love the fusion of the music, of the style, and the time period. Especially, I think, to be honest, because almost everyone is a veteran of World War I. And I think it's because I've been doing the Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Like, at one point, minor spoiler, there is a character who is about to be killed, and he says, "Just don't bury me where there's mud," which having just listened to the recent episode of Blueprint for Armageddon, Hardcore History, where you hear about the people drowning and suffocating in the mud, it's cool how in that moment they make it. And of course, I kept my promise to watch all the episodes, get caught up with Walking Dead. We'll talk about those, and a little show called Hacking the System on National Geographic.
I've been watching all that stuff too. I started watching old Jon Stewart episodes when he announced that he was going to stop doing The Daily Show later this year. So I watched the second to last Craig Kilborn Daily Show, where Jon Stewart was a guest, which I remember actually watching in Austin at the time, because I was a big Craig Kilborn Daily Show fan back then. Then I watched the last episode of The Jon Stewart Show, which had been on MTV in the mid-90s. So this was just all going down memory lane on YouTube. It was really fun. Still watching The Flash, Agent Carter, and Arrow. They are definitely my superhero contingent. I don't need Gotham. People love Gotham. People hate Gotham. I just don't even need it. I don't have room for it in my life right now. Arrow's killing it, and Agent Carter is still really good as well. Flash's first season, so its second half is not as impressive to me as the first half, but I'm willing to give it a pass for that and hang in for the second season. We'll talk about Marco Polo. I also have kept up on The Walking Dead and Archer. I keep forgetting that to mention that I've been watching Archer, and I've really been enjoying it, Brian. I don't know if you care to in your valuable time to go back to watch it, but this last episode was about Archer protecting his baby. Yeah.
That's one that's definitely on the list. It's right there with Bob's Burgers and all those shows that sure. The problem is it's kid friendly content. I can't. There's a tight window.
You mean it's not kid friendly?
Well, exactly. It's looking for
Bob's
kid
Burgers
friendly.
is, but Archer isn't.
No, but even Bob's Burgers, he's shouting, dog anus over and over again.
It's primetime television, though. It's
but also not necessarily. I don't know. It's on that edge.
Yeah, right.
I just don't want my 7-year-old talking about dog anuses at school. So now you can put Cordkillers in the same category as Bob's Burger for questionable
Now you can't watch Cordkillers. Great. All right, let's take some dispatches from the front before we get out of here.
You got it.
So, Brian, Scott has a question.
Yeah.
He was looking for hacking the system today to purchase online. Cut the cord 5 years ago in favor of a Netflix and antenna Windows Media Center combo. Don't have access to Nat Geo. I believe Brian said that he couldn't get Amazon's search to find the show. I had the same result. Had to go so far as use the search operator site:amazon.com, hacking the system to find it. Even then, it showed up as the third result. While that kind of sucks, I think the takeaway here is clear. Brian should now market hacking the system as the show Amazon doesn't want you to see. If nothing else, you could get some clickbait headlines.
Yes, and I think that's a brilliant positive spin on it. But keep in mind, of course, you can also get it on iTunes, Google Play Store, and I know there's a whole bunch of clips that show up on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and search hacking the system, who knows what you can find. Kyle says that listening to us talk to Malango and is sticking with his Comcast got him thinking it'd be interesting to hear what your guests and maybe your listeners are paying for their TV or TV plus internet. My guess is that it varies wildly. However, I also understand this might be too personal a question for some, so I'll go first. He says, I haven't paid for cable or satellite since 2005. He pays $57 for internet and phone with Fios. He has friends who are paying $190 a month for internet cable with Comcast. I'm not sure which package they have, et cetera, et cetera. I'll tell you what, I am one of those $190 guys because number one, I pay $3 a month for landline. We have an UMA that is attached to the internet. Everything else is cell phone, so it's $3 for landline. We pay $99 for gigabit fiber, but we could pay $69 if we accepted AT&T's little provision of let us track every single website you go to at all times and deliver you personalized ads. We opted out of that. We also opted out of any contract, so we pay more per month. So it's $99 a month for our internet. Unfortunately, we did the same thing with our cable when we picked up cable again. It's like $80 more for cable per month. I'm not going to stick with it. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to pull the plug on that. What about you, Tom?
I got to look it up.
Oh, really?
Do you feel comfortable admitting this sort of thing?
So my internet service provider is Virgin, and we get 120 megabit service down, 10 up. And that costs me, I think that's £60. So that's $90 to $100. And then the TV service is Sky over here. And I love my sports, so I get good sports channels on that. We love the kids' TV stuff as well, and that works out about £75. So that's $110 to $120.
Wow, just for the cable access on top of the internet.
Yeah, and then of course we get free-to-air TV that comes in with as well as, and my wife and I love movies, so we like the movie channels on Sky, and we also probably will buy 1 to 2 movies a week on iTunes or Amazon.
Do you guys have an over-the-air access fee that you guys pay for like a tax? How much is that?
If you want to own a TV in the UK, you have to have a TV license.
Wow.
There's some states probably where you can get a gun easier than we can get a TV.
I believe it. How much is a license?
I'm going to get corrected here, but I think it's about £200 for a colour TV license, and I think they've dropped the black and white license now because no one's got a black and white TV anymore.
Wow. I wonder if there are people out there who are having like intentionally crippled televisions to go black and white in order to avoid the fee.
Nate Langston talks a lot about how he has to work very hard to prove that he doesn't have a television.
Yeah, because it's owning the set as well. It's not watching the content. So if you own a set to watch an Amazon box, you still have to have a license for the TV.
Yeah,
and it goes to the BBC, and it's the unique way in which the BBC is funded. Unquote.
Wow. Well, I believe also NHK
Brian,
does a similar thing.
I'm not sure how useful my answer is for Kyle, because I pay like north of $301 a month for Fios, because that's a business expense because I run everything over Fios out of here. But DirecTV, the cheapest package I can get that still includes HBO. So nothing but the minimum you can give me plus HBO, $85.76 a month. Right now I've been paying $30 a month for Sling TV as a test. That's $20 plus $5 package for news and $5 package for sports. But then I also pay for Netflix, which is $9 a month. We pay for Amazon Prime, but we pay for it for shipping, but we get the TV, so I don't know how you account for that. I do not pay for Hulu, and I don't think I have any other ongoing television services.
Right on. Well, if you guys want to share what you guys are doing either on the high end or the low end, hit us up at cordkillers.gmail or at gmail.com. Do you want to burn through these last couple? Do we have time?
Well, definitely want to get to Marlon. He said, hey, guys, a short message to confirm that we in Latin America and the Caribbean will and have received the latest episodes of Better Call Saul on Netflix on Tuesday mornings. In fact, the first 2 episodes were waiting for me at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I know Europe is receiving the same treatment, but I just wanted to send you a confirmed report from the field. This is your correspondent, Marlon, the guy from Trinidad, reporting from the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, while we're talking about it, now is as good a time as any for us to do a little bit of housekeeping, reminding you that we're about to launch 2 boutique feeds, thank you, Neshcom, for that term, of either Cordkillers, the program only, or Spoiler in Time only. So next time you go into your iTunes or whatever podcatcher software you use, type in Cordkillers, you should see the main feed, which is what you're listening to right now, but also one with just Spoiler in Time and the other one with just the program. If you are a patron, remember, you are not supporting individual episodes. You are not buying episodes of Spoiler in Time or Cordkillers. What you are doing is you are pledging a weekly amount that will keep us, as we say, loud, live, and independent. And we thank each and every one of you guys for having done that. Yeah,
I'm going to go into the Squarespace. I'm actually going to go create the feeds, which are almost zero work to create, for a Cordkillers only audio, Cordkillers only video, Spoiler in Time only audio, Spoiler in Time only video, and they will be available at cordkillers.com. In fact, right now we have some subscribe links up in the top. I'll probably create a single subscribe page to consolidate all of those onto.
Right on.
And that's it. Ewan Rankin, thank you so much, man. It was good to do a show with you. It's been too long.
It has. No, it's been too long. I love coming on with you guys, so I'm glad I haven't offended you and you had me back.
No, we're glad, at all, man.
We're glad you stayed up so late, all the way to almost 1 a.m. or whatever.
There's more to go yet.
BritishTechNetwork.com. Go check it out. As he mentioned, Jackie Hearn does a House of Cards podcast there, but there's also all kinds of things. You've got a drone show now, along with the Big Show and the Mac Show, which have been going forever and are awesome.
Thanks, man. It's very kind from you.
Anything else you want to let folks know about?
We've got, I don't know if you're allowed to say this or not, but we've got a 140 character movie review service, which is called At Shite or Not. And,
nice.
And that's all you've got to do is just give a brief synopsis of the movie and then hashtag it with the appropriate word.
Fantastic.
That's
and
awesome.
You get me at Ewan Rankin on Twitter.
That's amazing. At Shite or Not.
Not
so just
shite,
the at
hashtag
symbol,
not
and
shite,
shite or not.
hashtag shite, and then you put a little synopsis in.
All right, very nice.
As well.
And that's it for us. You can find us live on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and anytime you want at cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.